Good evening, everyone. Back there, more YouTube channel. It's Chris back with a post-match reaction to Newcastle United 3, Qarabag 2. Much closer than we thought it was going to be in the first few minutes of this game, but we'll get stuck into that in a second. Talk about the lineup, talk about the game itself, the key moments, and everything to go with it. The main thing from this is Newcastle United are through to the last 16 in the Champions League, which is unbelievable. At the start of this campaign, nobody thought we would have been there. Apart from David Beckham, as I keep saying, David Beckham was the only one who gave us a hope in hell to get through. So well done to David Beckham for that as well. Not that he needs me to praise him, even though he's having a bit of a tough time, isn't he? Bless him. But a good result for Newcastle over the two legs. I mean, the score was 9-3 over the two legs. Tells you all the work was done in the first leg. But it's good that we got through. The draw's on Friday. We're going to have either Chelsea or Barcelona. We'll talk about that a little bit towards the end of the episode. But they got the job done tonight, but it was a bit of an odd game as well. So we'll get stuck into that. Before we do, a little reminder, if you haven't already, smash subscribe down there. Help get us to the next milestone, which is 13,000. We're a couple of hundred away, 300 away. You guys can help get us there. It's all free content, never more. So if you haven't hit it already. Send it to your family and friends. Let them hit it. But there is also a member option down there as well. If you want to support the channel, get a little bit of exclusive content, a little exclusive videos and Q&As and all that. And you can also be part of our Discord group chat, which was popping off during the game. And it's always good. It's always calm. It's not like social media and all that kind of stuff. So it's all good to be part of that as well. So click whatever you want to click. We appreciate all the support. So let's get into the lineup then. I mean, I was more confused about the bench, if I'm brutally honest with you. So there was some changes in the lineup. Obviously, the changes that we all kind of called, and Ramsdale coming in was natural. Kieran Trippier starting right back. I think a lot of us would rather that didn't happen, but he started. Sven Botman coming in at centre half, which we thought was going to happen. Dan Burn continuing because Malik Chow was suspended. Great to see Alex Murphy at left back. I thought he had a solid game at left back and centre half. I'll talk about him in a minute. Joe Linton in that midfield with Tonali, and then Volta Marda in that midfield role, which I'm not a huge fan of, but he was there. Again, Jacob Murphy in the front three with Willis Sula and Harvey Barnes on the left-hand side. So that was the main team. But the bit that I could not understand from the manager, and this isn't a negative, this is just an observation, all right? Why the fuck have we got 3 goalkeepers on the bench against Qarabag when we're 6-1 up on aggregate? I don't understand that. Why didn't Nick Pope just have the night off and replace him with a Song Soo or a Ferreira from the under-21s who are scoring and creating? Just give them 10, 15 minutes towards the end. Why not? Why have we got 3 goalkeepers? I just don't get that. I'm sorry. You can defend anyhow, with your last breath in your lungs, but 3 goalkeepers against Qarabag in a game where you're 6-1 up, I don't get that. I'm sorry. I really don't. But anyway, let's get into the game itself. So it looked like it was going to be another long night for Qarabag, to be fair. We started the game and we started really well. We go ahead on the 4th minute mark. Sandro Tonali gets the ball. He kind of just dances through, and it's not really the normal thing Sandro does, but such was the levels between the two teams over both legs. He just runs into the box pretty much unchallenged. There's a little bit of a scramble there. Goalkeeper again. God bless his soul, the goalkeeper. If it wasn't for him, this score on the two legs might have been about 15-3, I think. What's he called? Is it Kuchelski? He makes another really good save, and it bounces and ricochets, and it falls to Tonali, and he pops it off for the first goal on the 4th minute. You're thinking, oh dear, Qarabag, it's going to be another long night for you. Massive credit to their fans, by the way, who travelled all the way to Newcastle. That's a long old trip, that. And to be 6-1 down on aggregate, and then to see your team go down, in the 4th minute, and then it followed up with a second goal on the 6th minute. Lovely bit of work from Harvey Barnes. He puts a cross in. Joe Linton absolutely smashes the volley. Their keeper's got no chance about that. He's made some wonder saves over the two legs. We've got no chance. But it's a really tidy finish from Joe Linton. And you're thinking, right, that's it, Newcastle. We're in control of this game now. Absolutely 100% we are. And it kind of, after that, we kind of took our foot off the gas. I just felt that 2-0, it was 8-1 on aggregate, and the players just started to kind of slow down a little bit and not really do much. They didn't really put a bit of intensity and didn't put a lot of pressure in. They kind of, they just went, oh, well, that's it. There's no way they're getting back into this. We'll just kind of knock around a little bit, have a bit of a training game. And because of that, Qarabag started to get back into the game a little bit. Johnny Montiel was getting on the ball. Looks a tidy little player, to be fair. But just a little bit too lightweight, probably for a Premier League or a La Liga or something like that. But he was getting on the ball a bit. Duran was making some nice movements as well. Zubayer, the fullback again, who gets another goal tonight as well. Try to remember how to say his name. is it Kafa-Quiliev? I'm going to go with that. That sounds really good. So yeah, and Danny Bolt, they were starting to get some little moments, Qarabag. They were starting to get some chances. You know, we had some chances as well. Alex Murphy puts a great challenge in, by the way, in the box, you know, for them as well. I thought it was a brilliant challenge from him. He looked really solid. I thought he was an option going forward in the left full-back position. Defensively, he was solid. He makes a great tackle in the box as well. Didn't look overawed by it at all. And I just think, yeah, he was really solid tonight. So we go in at half-time and we're 2-0 up. And, you know, you're thinking, well, maybe Eddie's going to make some changes. Doesn't make any changes. We come out in the second half. And again, we just kind of step off a little bit, really. Qarabag get back into the game. It's a lovely finish by Duran. And this is a problem that Dan Burn has on all levels of football, certainly in the Premier League, because it's quick and it's intense. He does lack pace. I love Dan Burn a bit. I think he works so hard. He's a warrior. He does somehow mark and defend against players who are much quicker than him, but he gets absolutely done for pace from Duran. It's a lovely run from him, great movement, keeps himself onside on the shoulder, blitzes Burn off, and it's a lovely finish down past Ramsdale. Don't blame Ramsdale for that. He flapped at a few things, Ramsdale, unnecessarily. I thought it was a little bit weird. I was thinking there's nothing to really worry about from this Qarabag team, really. Why are you flapping Ramsdale? But he just seemed to flap. I don't really understand what it was. And then they're back in the game, and I'm kind of feeling sorry for the Newcastle fans. And weird enough, in the first half, we were olaying Qarabag every time they passed the ball to each other. And I thought, ooh, it's a little bit premature, that Newcastle. I know we're kind of smashing them over the two legs, but let's not take the piss out of these guys. And by the way, 75 quid a ticket for that tonight. It wasn't a great showing for your value for money there, was it? 75 quid. Wow. But, you know, the job was done in the end, and it was done in the first leg, really. But yeah, not a great performance really from the lads. And then Sven Botman pops up shortly after that Duran got a beautiful cross by Kieran Trippier, proper prime Trippier cross, and he just jumps like a salmon. Botman, who was steady away, I thought, tonight, you know, in the camera that he had, good performance as always. It's a beautiful header, power, precision. It's in the bottom corner, and you think, right, Newcastle are back there 3-1. Let's go get a fourth and a fifth and just put this right to bed, you know. But credit to Qarabag, they come back into it. There's a penalty. They get a penalty, and then Ramsdale palms away. It's a really good save from Ramsdale. Jacob Murphy, who was playing a right back at this point because Kieran Trippier went off. I'll get into the subs in a second because I thought that was weird. Murphy's a bit slow to react, and then for some reason, Ramsdale. So when the fullback from Qarabag takes the shot, Ramsdale dives to make the save, but he's about 4 yards behind his line. And I was thinking, what are you doing? You're diving for a shot, and you're 4 yards behind your line. It's always going to go in the back of the net. I don't really understand that at all, to be brutally honest with you. But they get their second goal, and it's a little bit of a training game, really, for Newcastle off the back of that. And Qarabag kind of huffing and puffing, but not blowing the house down. I felt really sorry for Duran as well, because I thought he had a steady game. He gets a bad injury towards the end. He goes for, it's just a kind of innocuous challenge with Burn, and he gets really badly hurt, bless him, and he has to go off. And it's a real shame that for him, because I thought he showed some good promise. He was so isolated in that first game when they got humped. And I thought he showed a little bit of promise tonight, and I felt really sorry for him as a player. But we made some weird subs in this game. I've got to talk about these subs. I don't understand it. So at the point where we made these substitutions, I think we were 9-1 up or something like that on aggregate, or some 9-2 up on aggregate. And Eddie Howe decides on the 54th minute mark to bring on Lewis Hall, Joe Willock, and Anthony Gordon. And you're thinking, don't really need to risk these players, Eddie. I don't understand why you're risking these players. You know, they've played so much football, certainly Lewis Hall. You know, we don't have many other left-back options. I thought Murphy was good at left-back tonight, steady, but you got to base it off the competition that they're playing. You know, Qarabag aren't a great standard. The levels between these two teams are miles apart, you know, and I felt a bit sorry for Qarabag over the two legs, because they're probably very good in their country, that either win the league or they're second. But then when you step up and you play against a Premier League team or a top team in Spain or Italy, you get absolutely smashed, because the levels and the intensity and the fitness and the technique is so far above the standards that you play week in, week out. It shows. It's like when you play the FA Cup against kind of, low-level teams, and it really does show. And I felt that was the same with Qarabag over the two legs. But I don't understand why he's risking Lewis Hall in particular. If Lewis Hall had got an injury and then he was out, got massive games coming up, massive games coming up in terms of Everton at the weekend, and Manchester United at St James's Park. We've got the derby coming up. We've got City in the FA Cup. We've got Barcelona or Chelsea. Don't risk Lewis Hall in a game like this, a nothing game where we've absolutely battered them, and it just doesn't need to be risked, in my opinion. But the manager is the manager; he does what he does. Joe Willett, come on, I didn't think did much. He was a little bit anonymous. I thought he slowed the play down. We always look worse where we make substitutions. I don't understand that. Other people make substitutions and look better. We look worse. Anthony Gordon, come on, was a bit busy. Joe Linton was really pissed off coming off. I thought Joe Linton had a really good game before that. I thought he was good. He was strong. Took his goal really well. He wanted more. But I think they may have took Joe Linton off because of the yellow card risk. If he'd been booked, that would have been him done, I think, for the next round. So I think that's why they took Joe Linton off. I get it. I totally understand that in that regard. He wasn't happy, Joe Linton, but he was. But one player I thought who was really poor tonight, and I was really disappointed, that was Willis Sula. I don't know about you guys, but Willis Sula for me in a game like this, Willis Sula's a squad player. He's a bit part player. I described him the other night as having all the ingredients but no recipe, and that's what he looks like. He's quick. He's strong. He does things sometimes where you think, wow, there's a player, absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? And it was a really interesting, performance from Willis Sula that just, I didn't see anything from him to make me think that he's that player. He's a player that can come in and do a job. And, if he can't come in and do a job against Qarabag, where you've got all the space in the world, then when's he going to do the job? And that was disappointing for me. Wissa come on for him on the 73rd minute. Didn't really do a great deal. I know Wissa's trying to get fitness back, which is mental because he's barely played football this season. It's been a dreadful season for Johan Wissa. You can trace it right back to the way he handled his Brentford exit, and then the ridiculous decision going to play for Congo and busting his knee. I'm sorry, but he's got to take a little bit of responsibility for that. And one of the good things that came with the game was only on the 87th minute mark. We were all screaming for him to get a game. I wanted him to start the game. Leo Shahar eventually, Eddie Howe decided to make Leo Shahar a fully grown boy. He said, here you go. Well done. Welcome to the club, son. You are now a professional footballer who's played for Newcastle United. And Leo Shahar come on, and he had about, I think, what did he have, about 7 or 8 minutes or something like that? How many did he actually have? Yeah, it says 3 minutes played here. I'm sure he had a little bit more because he had injury time, didn't he, as well on that? But I thought he looked good. I thought he was confident. He was calm. He was composed. I thought he didn't look like he flapped. He come on, he was shouting out instructions to people as soon as he come on the pitch for 18 years old. And he look calm and composed and steady. And I thought there's a sign that could be a player in there. I know he's only had a little cameo, and against Qarabag, but give the lad a bit more of a shot. You never know. He might surprise you. He might do something. But yeah, so the job was done in the end. I don't think there was ever a real threat that Newcastle were going to lose this game. It would have went down in history as the worst performance from a football team ever if we had lost this game after being 6-1 up in the first leg. So it was a bit of a training game. It felt a little bit empty, a little bit hollow towards the end because Newcastle weren't really that arse because they knew they were going to win the game. Qarabag were playing for a bit of pride, I suppose. But listen, the job was done. That's the main important thing. We're through to the last 16 of the Champions League. Man of the match is a difficult one. I think Tonali was good tonight. He was box to box. I'd probably give it to Harvey Barnes because I thought he was busy tonight. I thought his assist for Joe Linton was good, and he was popping up in pockets. He was trying to make things happen. So it's probably between Tonali and Barnes. I'm going to go Barnes on this one. Let me know in the comments below, guys, who your man of the match was. Disappointed again with Voltemade. I think Voltemade, to me, in this role, just doesn't really work. Apart from, I've got to say, absolutely just filthy assist for Jacob Murphy. That roll of the feet and that little outside of the foot poke through to Murphy, and then Murphy being Murphy completely spanners it wide. If he'd put that away, that would have been the assist of the match. It was Berbatov-esque from Voltemade, and Murphy just couldn't do anything with it at all, could he? Murphy, again, he runs and he runs, but didn't really offer too much tonight. And a bit of a weird game for me, for the players, and after the first 6 minutes, I just think we dropped off completely. But thankfully, Qarabag didn't have enough to worry us. And we got through, if you look at the 2 leg score, we got through emphatically, but all the job was done in the first leg. And yeah, Barcelona or Chelsea, let me know, guys, who you would fancy in the comments below. We'll get to some of your comments in a minute. I think Chelsea for me is probably the best option that we can have, because Chelsea are flaky, man. Chelsea can be streaky. And I think Newcastle could beat Chelsea in the Champions League. Barcelona, I know they were a little bit iffy, I think, in their league form at the minute, but Barcelona have the capability, certainly in Europe, just to step up and be class like they were when we played them earlier on in the competition. But I mean, the draw of that tie, you know, the Barcelona tie as well, playing them in the Nou Camp and playing them at St. James's Park, you know, that would be massive for the Newcastle fans going to the game, Newcastle fans watching around the world. It's 75 quid a ticket tonight. I'm glad I'm an armchair supporter tonight, by the way. So, you know, more credit to those guys and girls who went there tonight for 70 odd quid a ticket. Fuck me. But, you know, Barcelona would be an unbelievable game, you know, for the Champions League for Newcastle. And if you're going to be the Champions League, they're the kind of games you want to play. We were looking to play it when we, you know, first kicked off this campaign. And if we get them in the last 16, then, you know, that's a hell of a tie. But I think we've got more chance of beating Chelsea personally. But we'll see what happens with it. But let's get some of your comments, guys. There's a few of you smashing them in. We'll try and get through as many as we can. Antagonizer saying, what a poor performance. I think they almost accepted the win before kickoff. It is what it is. Cheer up and we go through. Yeah, there was a little bit of that, I think, Antagonizer. There was a little bit after the Lord Mayor's show, wasn't it, really, in terms of the job was done in the first leg. That's why probably playing more of the youngsters might have been a better option, because they would have been hungry, they would have been keen, they would have been wanting to catch the manager's eye. And I think they may have put in a bit more of a shift, the younger players. You know, in front of a full crowd at St. James's Park as well. The likes of your Song Su's and even your Ferreiras, they'd be like, hey, do you know what? I'm going to show these fans what I'm all about, and I'm going to show him what I'm all about. You know, whereas some of the players that we had there, you know, the kind of squad players that didn't take their chances, I thought they were quite lethargic in many ways. Yeah, the one player who was more pissed off about coming off was a lad who probably starts, and that's Joe Linton. But yeah, I think, you know, maybe the young kids might have given a little bit more in that game. But listen, the managers picked the team, it's won the game, so can't be too critical in that regard, can we? Both legs we've smashed them up. Vincent saying, thought young Murphy looked at home, left back and left centre half. I was really impressed with him. I thought he was composed, he's got a bit of pace about him. Defensively, he looks really well organised, you know, positional sense is really good. You know, and it's a decent in the air as well. And yeah, I think there's a player in there. He's been very, very patient to be on the bench for as long as he has been, but it's good to see that he can come in and do a job there. You know, yes, it's Qarabag, but still Champions League, second round playoffs to get through the last 16. You got to give the lad some credit, and I thought he did excellent tonight. I really, really did. I wouldn't have brought Lewis Hall on at all personally, but I'm glad that Murphy got the whole game in offense. I thought he did excellent. So yeah, massive credit to him. George saying, rather meaningless and frustrating game, but it finished with at least no injuries. Yes, that is the main thing, George, isn't it? Because if I had some injuries, would have been absolutely devastated in that one, mate. Good evening, 50. Good evening to you, mate. Chipper saying, I don't get Eddie subs in second half. Yeah, risking players far too much. It is a dangerous game, Chippers, isn't it? That we were lucky there. If somebody got injured, you know, one of the big players that we were relying on, then, you know, well, I would say he's got some questions to answer, but nobody ever asks some questions, do they? So that probably wouldn't happen. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Antagonist saying he's putting players on to keep momentum in the team. It's that simple. Well, that's Antagonizer's opinion on it. I get that in a way, but it is a risk, especially when the game is pretty much won and you don't have to do that. So I see both sides of that argument there. I would prefer if he didn't risk players, especially when the squad is so thin. That's where I stand on that one. George is saying, if you need to rotate, do it with the intent to have a consistent performance and not just chuck Hall and Gordon on, because, yeah, I smell a little bit of appearance money and goal bonuses possibly. Certainly for Gordon, I think, when he come on. Phil says, shit game, could have been a cricket score. We stopped playing after 6 minutes, professional, conserved energy, I guess. Better fucking win this weekend after this show. That's a big game. You know, Everton have picked up a bit this season. I think David Moyes is an excellent manager. He's got a good tune out of Everton. They've got some dangerous players. Yeah, and for me, I think, you know, I think Newcastle need to really turn up and really need to put in a good performance in that game. A lot of those players tonight, that was a little bit of a training game, so they've not been too pressed. Obviously, they've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you know, to prepare for the game on Saturday. So they've got a bit of time to recover, and they weren't massively intensely burnt out from that game. So hopefully we should be in a good fettle for the weekend. Good evening to you too, Julie. Thank you very much for jumping in the chat. Is it Guy Stella 9-3 in the Champions League? Who are you? Exactly, mate. Not very often you say that, is it? 50 says Murphy did well. Yeah, good to see him giving a game. Absolutely. Jules agrees with you. Yeah, she thinks Murphy did really well, as does Big Al. Murphy did good. Yeah, it is very good to see Murphy, to be fair. Very, very good to see him coming in and doing a job, to be fair, because I thought he was excellent. He's waited so patiently as well, so patiently. Jay is saying that was strangely boring, like I was looking at my phone. It didn't seem a bit that way, didn't it? We want Boniface after we dispatch boss. That'd be they are giant killers, man. Aren't they, the Champions League? I'd stay way clear of them, mate. Way clear of them. I don't want them either. George says he doesn't want them either. No chance. No chance. Brian is saying, even in a flat performance, but a win's a win. More youngsters given a run out would be beneficial to the squad. I agree. I think it would kick some of the more experienced players up the arse too, because if these young kids are coming in and doing the job, because they'll be seeing them in train as well, going, fucking hell, he looks all right. If he comes into a game and does it, they'll think, shit, I really need to raise my game. So yeah, it's an odd one. I'd love a journalist just to have a pair of nuts to ask the manager that, you are so far ahead in the leg. Why didn't you give the young lads a bit more time? And I want to hear his answer, and I'm sure Eddie Howe would answer it in a nice, articulate, eloquent manner. But I want to hear the question asked, but you never get it. Steven's in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Chris, the PE teacher, did the same with Bruno, rushed him back from injury to save his job. Yeah. Bruno's been so important for this manager, has he not? And for all of us as well, to be fair. But it's a funny one, isn't it? He's beyond criticism in some parts of the fan base and certainly the media. Gordon saying you're on a hiding for nothing in games like that. Job done, move on. Yeah, I get that, mate. I get that. The damage was done in the first leg. Absolutely. Graham is saying heart says Barca, head says we'll have a better chance against Chelsea. I'm with you, mate. Absolutely. David says has to be Barca for me. It's what the Champions League is all about, playing the top teams. Yeah, I do agree with that. Jules wants Barca for revenge. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not thinking Will Asula is going to do a Tino Espria, by the way, because after that showing tonight, if he can't do it against fucking Qarabag, he's not doing it against Barcelona. Jesus. Keith says Barca for the sparkle. We play Chelsea at least twice anyway. That's true, very true. Again, those types of games are what the Champions League are all about, aren't they? 100%. I remember watching Champions League years gone back where the English teams would always draw Barca or Real Madrid or something like that. Juventus, when Zidane was playing for them, and they were the big draws, they were the big games, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Brian says over 2 legs, Chelsea for him, absolutely. Lewis says if we got Chelsea and we play them 3 times in 7 days, beats playing Man City, doesn't it, all the time? Bloody hell. I'm sick of playing them. Robert said, sitting on a 4-2 bet, a lot of anger management needed. Oh, dear me. What a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. I said 3-0 tonight. I was actually surprised that we didn't go and batter them, to be honest with you, mate. No way UEFA allowed PSG and Barca match in the last 16. Yeah. A bit fishy, that. Smells a bit fishy, the old Champions League draws and stuff like that, doesn't it? 1702 PK. If ever there was a night to play Voltemada up front, this was it. I totally agree, mate. I said that in the preview. Anyone can see Asula isn't going to cut it, apart from the idiots who bought him. I mean, I'm so disappointed in that from Will Asula tonight. I really, really am. Will Asula has this kind of likability about him because he's a bit zany, he's a bit crazy and all that. And he can be, he has moments where he's so unpredictable, like he looks like he's going to fall over and he'll dip a shoulder and be by somebody and he'll have blistering pace and you go, fucking hell, there is a player in there. But then a game like that tonight, he should have been licking his chops, man. He should have been running at defense. He should have been bullying them. He should have been pulling wide, tucking in, having a shot. And he just didn't like he could be arsed at all, really. He was kind of just jogging through the game. That header, he's got to put that away. For Tonali's goal, isn't it? He's got to put that away. It's a half-decent save from the keeper, but even his movement and everything, the way he just kind of goes like that, you fucking give it some proper welly, man. Didn't put enough power into it. I don't know if you want to mess his fucking braids up or something like that, but yeah, I mean, Will Asula's got to take a chance against a team like that. He really, really has. And I'm disappointed that he didn't, to be brutally honest with you. Mighty Magpie said, even Chris, job done, but fuck me, how conservative is Edward? Never mind Trips' new hips. I think Asula has chips. Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. You're absolutely right. Comment from Raymond Venus says, what's your thoughts on the keepers? Thought Ramsdale did enough to keep Pope out for the rest of the season. See, I thought Ramsdale looked a bit flappy at times. He made some really good saves at times, good save with his legs, I think, in the second half, a couple of good strong hands, but then he flaps a little bit, and that the rebound on the pen, he's like 4 yards behind the line. I don't get what he's diving at. I think Murphy needs to do better there. Jacob Murphy needs to do better there. Yeah, but we definitely need 2 new keepers. I agree. We need a proper starting number 1 goalkeeper, whoever that's going to be, if it's a Trafford or if it's a more established one. But yeah, I'm not sure Ramsdale will get kept on. I think they'll send him back to Southampton. I don't think they'll keep him on. There is a good keeper in there, but the fact he's hardly playing any games tells you what the manager thinks about him. And I've kind of made my peace with the fact I think Eddie Howe's going to be here next season, no matter where we finish. I still think we'll finish outside of a European place, and I think they'll give him next season. Whether he lasts next season or not will remain to be seen how well we do. But I don't think he's going to go in the summer, especially with the England manager extending his contract as well. I think that kind of puts an end to Eddie Howe moving on from this club. Tony said, on the way back from a sluggish game, the players didn't look interested today. Yeah, I thought that as well, Tony. But I was a bit disappointed in that. I thought, that's a tricky one. That it really, really is. Yeah, Mark's in the chat and he says he generally thought Ramsdale would take the place. I did as well when he first signed. I thought he was more agile, good with his feet, but he's just not either had the opportunities, not taking opportunities. But yeah, I think a new number 1 is definitely required 100%. Yeah, Usula's more like Tino Beans than Tino Spray. I do agree with that. Super chatting from Chippers. Appreciate that, buddy. Eddie preferring a 15 million Usula up front over 60-odd million Walter Marder says it all. Eddie has given up on Nick, like the true Geordie says. Sad, really. Yeah, I don't disagree with Brian on that. I think the manager has given up very quickly on Nick Voltemade, and people are trying to dress it up a little bit like he's had another master stroke of changing a player's position and making him a midfielder. I just don't see that. I said that in my video that it's no surprise he was after players with pace who can lead the press. Your Ekitikes, your Sheshkos, your Liam Delaps, even your Pedros, and he ended up with Voltemade, who's a really, really good technical footballer. Look at that assist he nearly had if Murphy didn't have his fucking slippers on tonight. That to me is what Voltemade can do, and we haven't got the players to work in a system like that. They don't get anywhere near him, and it's just not working for him. And I think the manager doesn't really want him in his system. He wants somebody who's mobile, and that's not Voltemade. So the club have kind of let Eddie down by signing the wrong striker, and we've let Voltemade down by bringing him in here to a system that's never going to work for him. So it's 2 wrongs not making a right. I'm not digging the manager out for it. I'm not digging Voltemade out for it. I just think that that's just something that hasn't worked. You look at Ekitike and Sheshko, even Sheshko at Man United is probably the best comparison because Ekitike's had some better performances. Sheshko's starting to come into a game now and he's starting to score goals and look dangerous from the Carrick because he knows how to use them. Amram didn't really know how to use them. That's a bit of a worry with Man U coming up next week. I'm worried about Sheshko getting his inevitable goal against us at St James's Park. But, that's what we need to do with Voltemade. We need to try and figure out a play to his strengths. But I just don't think the manager wants to do it. And I think that's a real problem that I just don't see getting resolved, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm fully with you on that one, Chippers. Fully with you. Marcus talking capital letters, he's raging. What was it when Wiss is on the pitch? It seems like he's not on the pitch. Mate, he is done. That knee injury has absolutely goosed that player. He relied on his pace and his movement and that quick burst of 10 yards off the defender. He cannot do that anymore. His knee is squeaking and creaking when he moves. I think it was a terrible decision for him to go to Congo and play on them pitches that are dreadful conditions. And I appreciate that's the pitches in those countries. I'm not having a dig about that. But he had no preseason. He was nowhere near fit. And he was off playing for his country. Same with Isak and all. He played way too much football with Sweden and Liverpool. And he was nowhere near sharp enough. And the pair of them are knackered. Wes has come back, but he looks overweight. He looks sluggish. He doesn't. He makes unintelligent runs, And as Chipper said there, we're playing a lad. We're signed for 15 million from a relegated Sheffield United over Wissa, who was 55 million quid or whatever he was, and Voldemort, who was 69. One, the manager doesn't want to have any patience with and try and adapt the team to play around, and the other one just doesn't seem to be able to rediscover that magic you had at Brentford because his knees held together with bloody blue tack at the minute. And we've had a shocker in the striker department. I think Voldemort will be gone in the summer. I think we'll go and buy a number 9 with pace and power. I know Liam Delap's going to be flicked by Chelsea, but I wouldn't be surprised if we went back in for him. I really wouldn't. And I think he would do a job for Newcastle. I think he would do a much better job because he's got a bit of pace, a bit of aggression up there. He can finish. He can, bully defenders. I think he's a good player. I think Chelsea was a bad move for him, but I don't think Nick Voldemort will be at this club in the summer. And that's a shame because I think he's a good player. He'll end up going back to Germany and be class, for Bayern Munich or something like that. But yeah, I think it's disappointing that we haven't done enough with that player. The games are running out as well for an impact to happen. Papua New Guinea says, when are we going to get a clean sheet? We always concede. We do. We lack pace at the back. And I think that's the problem. In the modern day game, pace is always a threat, even when you're playing against a team that your level's above. And that was a threat tonight. Tyler's saying, want Trafford next season. Yeah, I like Trafford. I think he's good. Cassie says, Restas for me. Yeah, both good goalkeepers. Both very good goalkeepers. And could do a really, really good job. Phil says, the perception of Wissa's ability is more beneficial than his actual presence. Yeah, I think he's been really poor. If the Saudi league is an option, if I was the Saudis, I'd sell him. I'd sell him to one of the Saudi clubs and just go get another player because I just don't think he's going to be good enough. He might get next season, but if he has a good pre-season under his belt, maybe we'll see the Johan Wissa we think we signed. But yeah, I don't think that's there anymore. I think the injury's done him in. Dominic Kotorski from Copenhagen. I'd like to see him. Newcastle's a good, great keeper. Yeah, he's a very good goalkeeper. I think he was getting looked at by Dortmund, wasn't he? I think because their goalkeeper might be up for grabs. We've been linked to him as well. Can't remember the name of their goalkeeper. It will come to me. Or maybe I'll just use this magical thing called a computer in front of me and find out who he is. Dortmund goalkeeper. One of you guys is going to tell me, aren't you? You're going to tell me who the Dortmund goalkeeper is before I even get there. Yeah, Gregor Kobel. There we go. Or Kobel. That's the one. Yeah, we've been linked to him. So we do definitely need number one. And I like that lad because he's got Champions League experience and everything else as well. And that's the kind of goalkeeper, in my opinion, that we need. Something that we can. That's it. There you go, Tyler. You're in there, mate. I just beat you to it, but yes, yeah, he's the man. Yeah, Mark probably beat me to it. To be fair, he knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, we need a proper keeper with experience, and I think that kid would be a really good fit for us at Newcastle because we need that. 1702 PK. The likes of Murphy, Trips, Burns all coming out praising how recently probably all got extensions. The leadership group is vital. It is vital. It is vital for Eddie Howe. And you do need a leadership group at the club, excuse me. But you've got to have ability on the pitch as well as leadership off of it. There's no point being a great leader off the pitch if you can't do it on the pitch. I think Murphy's had a way worse season this season than he had last season. I think Burn has continued his levels, but you can see in games like that tonight that exposure to pace is always a threat. Trippier's like that as well. And that concerns me. The older they get, the slower they get, and the Premier League gets quicker and quicker and quicker. And yeah, that does concern me about those players. It really, really does. What I see in here? Just not some comments there, guys. A few more comments coming in. Let's have a look here. A few more comments coming in. What else we got here? Murphy's lost his iPhone. I did hear about that. Was it the press were talking about that? Yeah, I don't know. They always come up with some kind of quirky little banter for Murphy. The club will be all over that. They'll do some kind of video and talk about it for 16 months. So Sandro Tonali has come out and said it was a very great game for the first 10 minutes. I'm not very happy with the second half because we play just with the result because we score 9 goals, but we have to do more because the fans deserve 100% for 90 minutes every game. Well said, Sandro Tonali. There you go. Maybe Sandro Tonali is starting to turn around a little bit in terms of that mentality that he didn't have at the end of this, the start of this season. Yeah, I agree, James. Voltemada is way, way better Wissa. Way better. Yeah, Graham's been a member for 26 months. Thanks, Graham. Murphy did play well. He absolutely did. You're being sarcastic. You're probably being. I thought you were right, mate. I thought you were absolutely right. Yeah, Eddie Howe does rely on that leadership group. That's why Jamal Lascelles was here for so long. Hadn't played in 2 years, but he was so vital to the squad, apparently. Am just saying, why on earth Eddie didn't play young Neve? If we don't give our youngsters a chance to play in matches like tonight, I'm not going to get experience. And when? I think that's a good question. That does concern me about Eddie Howe's reluctance to play young players. I mean, I'm just trying to be level-headed about this, rather than lose me shit and shouting ball about it. That's not going to make me point. But if you're a young player coming to Newcastle, you've got to look for a pathway to the first team. And we're constantly talking about PSR and FFP, making it hard for us to buy players in the market, and we can't pay the wages that the bigger clubs pay and all that kind of stuff. So we should be a real good pathway to young players who aren't getting sniffs at Chelsea like Livermore and Hall, who aren't getting sniffs at City like Cole Palmer did, for example. We should be a pathway to young players like that. Come and play for Newcastle, come and sign for us, or come through the academy. Leave those academies and come to us, because look at all these players we've progressed through the youth academy. But you got people like Murphy and Shahar and Neve and Song Soo and that. Song Soo can't even get on the bench in a game like that tonight, where it's kind of a dead rubber, because we've smashed these in the first leg, and he can't get on the bench for a goalkeeper. I don't understand that. But again, Eddie Howe will not be asked this question. I've stopped watching a lot of post-match Newcastle content that I used to consume, I used to really enjoy, because the manager is never quizzed or questioned or queried about some of these decisions. And I think he has to be. I don't think it's healthy for a manager to not be asked questions about things like that. Like, oh, how come, you only gave Leo Shahar so much short go? Why did Sean Neve not get a game? That's what they should be asking. But they just won't. Because they don't want to rock the boat, did it, with the manager? So yeah, it is frustrating. It really, really is. Brian says he thinks Harry Wilson would be a good buy. I absolutely agree, mate. Reminds me of Beardsley. We need that kind of player. He pops up with goals. He really, really does. Who does he remind me of? Kind of reminds me a little bit, in terms of popping up with goals, a little bit like a Freddie Lundberg, Tim Cahill type character, where he just pops up and gets goals. He's good from set pieces too. He takes a really good free kick, and he's out of contract in the summer. It's kind of player Newcastle should be going for, in my opinion, but I don't think Howe will. He's a technical player. He can play in that role behind the striker. He can play off to the right. It gives us more, set piece delivery as well, especially if Trippier's on the way in or possibly on the way out. I think Harry Wilson would be a brilliant signing. So Son wasn't allowed to play tonight, apparently. Do you know any reason why, Zeph? I don't know. That's the first I've heard about that. Harry Wilson, fucking hell, watch out, City. Yeah, well, he won't be playing in the City game, mate, will he? But or watch out for the City. Is he a bit of a shagger? I've heard that about a few players, by the way. People talk about players and go, oh, he's a bit of a shagger. That's most footballers, isn't it, to be fair? Paul says, putting a Sula up front instead of Nick is shameful. Yeah, I mean, that needs to be asked. But again, it won't be. And playing Voltemada in that position is just, in a game like that where he could have got him a goal or two. He could have got a goal or two. He was trying, he was in the box. He was trying headers. That shot that hits the kid's arm. On another night, maybe Nick gets 2 goals in that midfield position. Maybe the conversation's different. But in a game like that, you'd want Nick Voltemada to get a couple of goals, get his confidence up, man. Get him back in number 9 role. But just not interested. Just not interested. It's it really, really is not good. John is in the comments. Go see John. If Eddie has his way, get rid of the academy and pump the money into players he picks, and only him. Well, Keegan did that, didn't he? I love Keegan. Keegan made me fall in love with Newcastle, but Keegan got rid of the youth academy. That's the reason why Michael Carrick never come through the Newcastle academy, because there was no academy. Got rid of it completely. We don't want to go back to those days, especially with the old financial restraints and squad cost regulations and all that crap. Unbelievable. Mark says he's not allowed to play due to UEFA rules. Oh, that's a bit of a shit then, isn't it? That explains why there was 3 keepers then. I'll withdraw that comment, Mark. Thank you very much, mate. That's why I like the lives. You guys keep on my toes. I like it. Yeah, another comment there about that Magpie 58. He wasn't allowed to play. I mean, that's bullshit as well, isn't it? What a load of fucking nonsense that is, man. Do me a favor. As F said, TTR mentioned it earlier. Yeah, those guys. done their research. Was it Alex? Was it? He always does his research, Alex. He's always on the ball with it. My stat man is also on the ball, but he's not chasing his podcat around his kitchen. There he is, true to form. Although the list B is for players born. Here we go. Yeah. So he could, well, that's a bit of that's just a fucking shit rule, isn't it? Let the lad have a bloody game, for God's sake. What a load of fucking nonsense. Graham says, yeah, Wissa, right, waste of space. I'm not convinced about Wissa at all, me. I really am not. I agree with you, Jules. Injuries done him in. And also his lack of judgment, I think, I really do agree with that. I just think really poor. Tyler's saying that he really doesn't want to see Watermore go. He should be on number 9. Get somebody to play behind him, get the ball at his feet. Wissa and Asula don't cut it as a striker. Do you know, I was talking about this to Mark the other day. I would absolutely love to see Morgan Gibbs-White in a role behind Nick Faltamada. How good would that be for Nick Faltamada to have someone like a Morgan Gibbs-White there with his ability on the ball, his ability to find a pass? Faltamada could lay it off to him to have a shot and goal or whatever. That's the kind of player we need to play up there alongside Nick Faltamada. Have a Morgan Gibbs-White there to do that, and then Nick can stay in the number 9 and be higher, be on the edge of the box, get the ball to his feet, spin players, and do all that kind of stuff. But that's the kind of players we should be signing in the summer. I mean, mind you, Forest could still go down. I mean, I was looking at the relegation picture earlier. My God, Spurs are in so much danger of going down, aren't they? I was watching Spurs in that North London derby, and they reeked of Newcastle. Was it 2009 when we went down? Loads of good individual players, but just don't give a shit. I saw Mickey van der Ven just standing looking at Tudor like he was a bellend, telling him to push up the pitch. That's a team that's hurtling the relegation, in my opinion. So, wow. I mean, there could be some players there from Spurs you could get a hold of. I'd take Kudus, mind you. I'd definitely take Kudus. Mark saying he's been accused by YouTube of spamming his own comments. Well, there you go. Who's spamming? RG Fox saying Morgan Gibbs-White, Voldemort, 2 proper tricky fuckers. Excellent. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yes, fuck Spurs, George. Absolutely. I would miss Expressions rants, though. I must admit, if they went down, I think I would still have to watch them because that lad is he's a talented content creator. I tell you what, he's a funny guy. He really is. So Ian says Rooney was right pre-match. If Voldemort wants a goal to get in the 6-yard box, not begging for a pen. Yeah, I don't mind Rooney as a pundit. I think he's quite brutally honest, isn't he? And in all fairness, mate, I think he's all right as a pundit. He's quite funny as well. To be fair, I did laugh at the comment about the kid with the haircut the other week. That was quite funny with Rooney. But yeah, Rooney he could play as a striker that was further up, but he could also play in that deeper line role because he was so good on the ball. Excellent footballer, Wayne Rooney. Grossly underrated by some of these new generation FIFA fans. My God, man. They go back and watch Wayne Rooney. Unbelievable, man. Stephen's saying, does Harry Wilson run a lot? That's the only way into any ball. But he played from a Bournemouth, Stephen, so he knows what he's all about. I think he's more of a technical player. I think Harry Wilson runs when he needs to get in the position to get a strike off. His goal return's been excellent for Fulham this season. I mean, the fact they've let his contract run down is mental, really, absolutely mental. And I agree with you, Stephen. Yeah, spot on. 2008-9. That's what I was thinking. So many players, Duff, Owen, Jeremy, couldn't give a fuck. Yeah, that's exactly what Spurs remind me of 100%. I totally agree with that. Marksy and Rooney asked how did anyhow not want Watermada getting in the box a bit more? And then he looked like he wanted the ground to soak him up and basically say he wanted him to stay in his midfield line. Well done, Wayne Rooney. He's asked more difficult questions than the entire Northeast press pack, which isn't hard these days. Well done to Wayne Rooney. I tell you what. Henry will find. Is that Henry will find a new team? You mean Harry? I don't know what you mean. Henry will find a new team. Like anyone would take Henry. Julie's doing her best expressions. Yes, blood. Expressions is entertaining. Oh, really good. The best line I heard him say after the derby was the last time he watched something decent in this stadium, it was Beyonce, which I thought was absolutely brilliant, to be fair. It was simplistic, but brilliant. I do love a bit of that, I must admit. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Rooney, proper player, street punditry. Yeah, I think he's good. I like him. In a game full of, people just kissing somebody's arse, I quite like the fact that Rooney's Rooney's not scared to say what he wants to say. 2 for Joy. There's more chance of Forest signing Voldemort than Eddie playing a 10 like Gibbs way. He needs a player like that. I mean, that was the talk that we're going to try and sign a player like that. So maybe the penny's dropping him. Yeah, Voldemort with Prime Rooney as a 10. God, that would be unbelievable. Imagine how much would Wayne Rooney cost in this market? Fucking hell, what a player, man. But we nearly signed him, you know. Imagine Newcastle had actually signed Wayne Rooney instead of that shithouse Michael Owen. I mean, we would have ended up selling him probably as well, but my God, we would have enjoyed him being there. I tell you what. Phil says, elite goalkeeper and centre forward, urgently needed in the summer. To me, that right there is bang on, right? And that's about 130 million quid or more. You know, they were talking about Samu from Porto, and I think he fits the Eddie Howe mold more. He's big and he's strong and he's quick. Scores all types of goals. They wanted 80 million quid for the guy, or 80 million euro, whatever. So it's like 72 million, 73 million quid. And then a proper goalkeeper, you know, somebody like, you know, Kobel from Dortmund, or even Costa from Porto as well. They're going to cost you 60 million quid. But that's what Newcastle need to level up. They need to have a proper goalkeeper and a proper centre forward. But the danger with that one, Phil, is if we don't have Champions League football, we're not shopping in those aisles, you know. And if we don't have any European football, we're not even shopping in the aisle, you know, next to that one. So that's a big problem for the football club. European qualification. I mean, I think I was looking at the points that are on offer. Some difficult games coming up there. We need to win these home games. If we win these home games, we could have a good chance of getting into European football positions. But I think top 5 is beyond us. I just can't see us getting back in there. I really can't. Let us know what you guys think. There's still 291 in the chat. Do you think we're going to get top 5? I think at best we're probably going to get top 7 in the Premier League. And then that gets you Europa. And yeah, you can still buy some really good players in the Europa League, but you're not going to be able to buy Champions League players. And you won't be able to retain players who want to play in the Champions League either, like a Sandro Tonali. So it's going to be a challenging summer again for Newcastle if they don't get Champions League football. I don't think that we will, in all honesty. I just don't. That's not me being negative. You know, I'm just being pragmatic. I think we've left too many points out there on the table, and I just don't think we're going to get there. Yeah, Ian thinks we won't get top 8. Phil says the next 3 games are all must wins. Mackems on the horizon also have to win that game. God, we've got to win that game. Absolutely. Andrew says Samu fits the bill in the summer, but Eddie's excuses signed off on a kid that plays football with no doesn't shit style. Exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure I trust that transfer committee, in all fairness. I just don't think I do. It's a bit harsh to Wilson because he's only just got into job, but yeah. Oh, is he out? Oh, Jesus, is he really out for 12 months with the ACL? Fucking hell, get lucky. Wow. That's a nightmare for him. Bloody hell. That's him off the list, isn't it, mate? Christ almighty. That's bad news. Ross Wilson's going to be a busy man this summer. Graham, I hope so. But I hope he signs better players than we did this summer, because outside of Malik Chow, not really worked too well, mate, in all fairness. Yeah, Andrew doesn't think we'll get Europe either. Go on, Jeff. Jeff says we're going to win the Champions League. Piece of piss. And we'll get back into it easy. That would be hilarious, by the way. You know, that would be up there with Greece winning the Euros if we won the Champions League. I tell you what, absolutely incredible that. If we won that, absolutely mental. Oh, what start that is too for Joy. Callum Wilson has more Premier League goals this season than Wissa. God, that hurts, mate. That hurts. My word. But right. Yeah, absolutely, Mark. Ouch. I don't know if that's ouch for Samu or ouch for the Wissa and Wilson. It's a double ouch, mate. It covers all the bases, mate. Well done. Yeah, absolutely. Well, both. Well said, Mark. Both. I feel like I'm talking to Mark like he's here. He's not here. You know, that's just how we do it here. But yeah, I think the Wissa move has not worked out at all. I don't think they'll get rid of Wissa, though. I think Wissa will stay. I think Wissa will be here next season and have a chance to prove himself. But I think Voldemort will go, because I think Voldemort will push for that move. Do you know what? Calvert-Lewin, we all turn our nose up at Calvert-Lewin, me in particular, right? But fucking hell, I think he'd have done a better job for us. I really do. I agree, James. I think Willock needs to go in the summer. We should have sold him in January. If Fulham were generally interested in Willock, we should have done a swap deal with Wilson, in my opinion. Harry Wilson would have got more goals than Joe Willock if we'd signed Harry Wilson. I firmly believe that. Willock's had 1 good game, technically 2 if you count Manchester United. And all of a sudden, now he's a valuable part of the squad again. Just crazy. crazy. You're right, yeah. Eddie Howe does not like ballers. He does not like technical players. That's not his game. That's not Eddie Howe's game. He likes athletes. He likes people who run and press and are strong, and that's great. But as I said, I think on Monday night, when you got all them players doing that, you need that one player who's just looking at the angles. He's either looking for that killer pass or he's going, that keeper leaves that top left-hand corner open. When I get a ball, I'm fucking smashing at the back of the net. I'm talking to somebody like a Jared Bowen, someone like a James Maddison, those types of players, even a Grealish on his day, those types of players that can do that little bit of magic. They may not press and run and harry and all that, but they'll do that for you and they'll get you a draw, they'll get you a win. And Newcastle need a player like that, massively need a player like that. Where this manager's game for or not, I don't know. I really, really don't know. But we'll see soon enough, guys. Well, I think that's me pretty much done for tonight, guys. Nearly did an hour there. Did more than I wanted to, or more than I thought I was going to do. But that's what happens when we all start talking about that. So the main point is Newcastle are through to the last 16 of the Champions League. That's a brilliant achievement by Eddie Howe and by the players. We're going to have either Chelsea or Barcelona. We'll find out on Friday. More football to come as well. We'll be back with the preview for Everton in the next few days. And then I'll be back behind the microphone on Saturday after we play Everton. Hopefully we've beaten Everton, because that is one of many home games we need to win if we've got any chance of getting Europe outright again and enjoying these kind of experiences that we've enjoyed tonight and over the last 2 games in this leg as well. But thanks for watching, guys. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Help get us to the next milestone, which is 13,000. If you want to be a member, there's options down there too. You can come join our Discord chat. It's all good. It's like this, but we're just chatting on Discord. It's loads of fun. I really enjoy it. I don't even go on Twitter or X or what the fuck it's called anymore. I don't do any of that shit. Now I've got a Discord chat. I just chat everybody in there. And it's great crack. Really enjoy it. But thanks for all the support, guys. Have a cracking evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Keep it evermore. We'll be back soon. Have a belter. We'll see you later.
Celebrate. They have done it.